Hey guys, my guest tonight, Caren Clarke, and I are going to be talking about the opioid epidemic. See you in about 5 minutes. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Hey everybody, welcome to the show tonight. How's everyone doing? I hope you said fine. I've got a great show for you tonight. It's kind of a different show. My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour or so. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong up and down the state, which means, excuse me, allergies, which means we can get to you. It may take us a while, but we can get to you. Anyhow, my guest tonight is one of the team's mediums, California Haunts, and I'm jumping ahead of myself, aren't I? It's one of those days I just want to plow through right away. Okay, if we can't get to you in time, let's go back to going out to help you guys out. If we can't get to you right away, because it's a big state, we have mediums on staff, such as the lady we're going to talk to today, who can call you and kind of do a remote read to see what's going on in your world and see if maybe she can settle it down before we get out there, or maybe she can do something on her own, right, when we get out there, before we go out there. All right? Okay. So you can find us on Facebook. You can find us everywhere on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us at Twitch, which is where we're airing from. You can find us on YouTube. We're all over Facebook again. Okay. On that note, if you're watching from Facebook and you like what you see tonight, please be sure to hit that like button. Show us some love, and because that puts us higher in the algorithm. Also, the same thing for YouTube. If you're watching from YouTube and you like what you hear and see tonight, please be sure to hit that. Show me some love with some hearts and thumbs up and likes and all that good stuff, because it does put us higher in the algorithm over there. Okay, hang on. I got some feedback going on, so this is weird. The whole thing, anything that can go wrong today is. Why am I getting feedback? Okay, I don't understand. Whoa, it's the mic. Okay, there we go. Wow, that was weird. Probably too close when the mic kind of settled itself down and went too close to my headphones. Weird things going on today. Like I went to get Adobe Photoshop and it's not there. It won't open up for me. Weird. So I'm trying to get it. I tried to install it, trying to reinstall. The thing is weird. I should have it. So anyway, just weird crap's been happening. Okay. Anyway, going back to the pages. Also on Facebook, if you like what you see and hear tonight, and you haven't done so already, please feel free to hit that follow button, because we're always looking for followers here at California Haunts Radio. The more the merrier. Just like YouTube, if you haven't subscribed, we got more than 580 videos sitting over there, all different topics, and I think you'll be fascinated by at least one topic on there. In fact, on that subject, I'm making some changes on my YouTube on the YouTube page. Let me get the mic here. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to leave the shows up for like a month, the newer shows, and then I'm going to categorize all the shows. So instead of you having to go through and look through a bazillion shows for whatever topic interests you, I'm going to have it categorized by topic, so you guys will be able to check those out, right? Okay, so that's the latest thing. It's going to take me a while to do it, but I'll get it done. All right, my guest tonight. We're going to just jump to that. Right now, what I'm going to talk about is something that's near and dear to my heart, okay? And let me turn this a certain way here, okay? And the reason why is because, you guys, I've told you about my congestive heart failure that I suffer from, but I also have horrible back issues, and that was something that just happened as far as my spine went. But this is moving place. Hang on, I got something moving here on my desk here. This is not a good day. What the heck is going on today? Okay. This is like a Murphy's Law day. Hello. Okay, anyway, my spotlight almost took a dive today. Anyway, it's near and dear to my heart because I have spinal stenosis. That showed up in my 20s, 25 years old, where I couldn't bend over well or anything like that. But I had a really good hand on that, and so I want to talk about that because I have a chronic pain person, and that's what we're going to be talking about today: is people with chronic pain and the problems that are happening. I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to be a doctor. I can only talk from experience. Caren Clarke, my guest tonight, is an LVN, so she's going to be talking. She's been doing a lot of research on this. So I have my beliefs, and I don't know what she's going to come up with research-wise, but it's there, right? So we'll be talking about this, and we'll be talking about what's going on right now with the CDC in the treatment of chronic pain patients. because there's stuff going on that the public doesn't realize. You as the public only see one facet of this stuff, that, oh yeah, we're trying to stop people from overdosing on opioids and this, that, and the other thing. But there's a whole nother thing going on with it that people, like I said, people don't realize. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Because with Caren, something happened to Caren a couple weeks ago that has almost happened to me a couple of times. And so I want you guys to hear about it, and she wants to tell her story. Okay. So let me get her on the phone. It's going to be a phone interview. And away we go. So let me do this. I'm going to dial Caren up. Let me get in there and do it. I had all kinds of stuff. I don't know what's going on with my Photoshop either. No reason for it. Okay, let me make the phone call and get Caren online. We're dialing for dollars. Hello, how's it going? We're on the air. Okay. Let me get you hooked up here so people can, so the folks out in Radio Land can hear you. Hang on. Okay. Can you hear it? Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, on the phone with me is medium Caren Clarke, who happens to be an LVN, and she recently had an issue happen to her. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of when I started the show. I'm a chronic pain patient, and I'll finish off the story I was telling you guys. I was diagnosed. I was running my 10 speed and got hit from behind by somebody, and at that point I flipped over the handlebars. But I was okay. I was young. I was in my 20s. I was like rubber bouncing off the street, right? And everything started after that, where I got to the point where I couldn't stand for long periods of time, and I couldn't bend over or anything like that. And I would start losing circulation in my feet and whatnot. And as it progressed, it just But back then, I didn't care. I was in my 20s, and I was bound. You know how you are in your 20s. You're leathery. You don't care, and everything goes. So it didn't bother me. So I was going to physical therapy. I was doing all this stuff, and I wasn't even taking anything for the pain. I mean, that's how little it hurt at that time. Then there was a car accident a few years later, and I was really mad about it because we were in our van up at our house up north, and but the brakes went out in the van, and the van went 50 yards pretty much over Farmer's Field, and it was bouncing everywhere. I mean, boom, 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 almost flipped over, that kind of thing. I had to force myself out. CHP came. At least we didn't flip over. CHP came. I drug myself out of the van. The problem was I was doubled over. I couldn't stand up straight. Extreme pain, couldn't stand up straight. So I walked over to the cruiser. I remember leaning over the trunk, part of the cruiser. And I thought to myself, if I don't make myself stand up, I'm never going to stand up straight again. So I forced myself up, not knowing that I had two vertebrae on top, one on top of the other, that got lodged. Okay. So at that point, I was taking ibuprofen because my father had two hip replacements. So he was taking a real strong ibuprofen for that. And it was like 800 milligram ibuprofen. So I was taking that for the pain. And I mean, it hurts really bad. I didn't go get x-rays at the time. I don't know why, because I felt I was young. I didn't think there was really anything wrong with my back. I just thought it was just from the bouncing motion of the van going cross country on me. So that's how it started. And it got my back progressively worse. Then they found a bad disc in my back on top of it all. Pinched nerves started. Oh my God, it was so painful. And that's because those two vertebrae are sitting on top of each other to this day. And they rub. That's the other thing. I do walk. But it's like with my spine the way it is, it's like the Tin Man in the Wizard of Oz, where after I walk for a while, there's no spinal fluid down there. So there's nothing to lubricate the back. So I have to either bend over to reopen the spinal canal back there, or I have to sit down. Okay? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. My feet go numb one at a time because of that pinching sensation. And later on, I found out, doing x-rays, finally got an x-ray, and found out that my two vertebrae at the base, in addition to my spinal stenosis and the bone spurs I have back there and all that, are on top of each other. And it's like rubbing two pieces of wood together constantly when I'm walking. Okay? So it gradually built up to where I was taking tramadol. And I'm going to admit to this stuff. And tramadol wasn't doing it. It was working okay. It wasn't doing it. I went on vacation, and my father and even back then it was hard to get this stuff. And my father, I couldn't get a hold of the pharmacy to get my tramadol. The doctor wasn't in. It was really hard to get the prescription. So I borrowed a couple of my father's hydrocodones. Hydrocodones. Three, I'm not going to say the dosage, but I thought, man, this stuff, I feel great. I can move around. I can bend over. I can function. So that's what started my the tramadol and the hydrocodone, which I still take to this day. Okay, it's been almost 15 years. I've been on the same dose of hydrocodone for 15 years. I haven't varied my dose ever. I never asked for more. Okay, and that's the key. When you go in to see a pain management doctor, the first question they ask you is, how is your pain level on a scale of 1 to 10? Mine's always around a 5 or 6. It makes my life livable. If I didn't have that, I couldn't mow my lawn. I couldn't mop my floors. I couldn't vacuum my floors because all that bending is right at that angle where my two collapsed vertebrae are. Okay. So this brings me up to what's happening in today's world. I understand there's opioids and stuff coming across the border. I get all that. I understand that completely. Like I said in the beginning of the show, I'm not a doctor. Karen's not a doctor. But Caren and I have experiences we're sharing with you guys tonight. And then we're going to talk about the statistics. And so they started cracking down on opioids, which is fine and dandy. I get it. There's people bringing, like I said, bringing illegal drugs across the border. They're getting in the wrong hands. People are overdosing, and all this is going on. But the unfortunate thing that happened with all this was, instead of saying, okay, let's look at the problem, they turned around because they wanted quick results to show the public that it was being taken care of. So they turned around, and instead of saying, let's look at the problem, who it's affecting, and what's going on, they put a big blanket over everything and said, okay, all you people that are taking opioids shouldn't be taking them because they're bad. All right? So you've got cancer patients, you've got people like me who need it for what they call quality of life. And people like me aren't getting the necessary pain medication that we need because they put this big blanket over everything. And in so doing that, Karen's flipping through her notes. And in so doing that, they've scared the doctors, because what they will do is if it seems like a doctor is overprescribing or anything like that, they go in and there's a lot of cases back east. I don't know about California. I haven't heard a lot of it. I follow a lot of forums on Facebook. And they've arrested these doctors. And so doctors are afraid to prescribe this stuff to people. Whether you desperately need it or not, they're afraid to prescribe it. And that's what makes the whole situation so bad, because it's turned into this monster, a horrible monster. And Caren has a story to tell. She called me a couple weeks ago with what was going on with her doctor, and I knew right away what it was. When she described what was going on with her prescription, I knew there was going to be a crackdown for Caren. And Caren can tell you. Hers was a botched surgery, was a surgery that kind of went wrong, and so she suffers from a lot of pain. And she is no longer on pain medication. The doctors refuse to give it to her. And so she's one of those people in that percentile that's getting left behind. If you go to the emergency and you ask for pain pills or anything like that, right away they will not give you the pain pills to help you. And there's a lot of stories out there, and like I said, I'm not here to spread rumors. It's not my gig. But it's what I read, okay? There's a Don't Punish Pain forum on Facebook that's run by Claudia Morandi. That's where I'm getting my info. She's an activist in Rhode Island. She goes and she fights for pain doctors and people like me and Caren. She goes out and she's doing an active fight trying to change the law, because it's not fair to people that are in chronic pain at all. There's no fairness to it. And I know the doctor's hands are tied, but it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. Okay, anyway, Caren, how are we doing today? How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
So tell us about what happened to you, because I know I kind of laughed in a way. Well, I didn't laugh, but I remember the day you called me and told me what was going on with your prescriptions.
I know.
And I said, oh, here we go. So let's hear your story.
And I didn't believe you.
Yeah. So let's hear your story.
Oh my gosh, what a journey it's been. Quickly recap very fast. 12 years ago, hospital and nurse case management coordination. So I was really, really busy in my life doing investigations with your group,
right.
Helping take care of Michael's mom. It was like life was busy, but it was good. And then I was struck with pain in my belly. It got worse and worse and worse. Finally, I went to the ER, and they did a lot of diagnostics. They thought, it was like an appy problem or something like that, And they discovered 3 humongous tumors in my abdominal gut area, grapefruit-sized tumors. And the ER doctor came back and said, you really need to follow up with your doctor. Well, of course, I came home shattered. I was like, oh my God. One was turned out to be a mesentery mass, and it turned out to be it's related to cancer called Castleman's disease. And the other 2 were huge fibroids. So coincidentally, what happened is I had major surgery, but the surgery didn't turn out as well as they expected. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Sure.
And what happened is that I wasn't functioning. I couldn't function. I couldn't do anything. I basically was like a couch potato. I couldn't walk. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I couldn't do anything. I was in and out of the ER with ileuses and obstructions ad nauseum. Back and forth. And this is before the DEA really cracked down.
Right.
So I was getting support, but it was still really hard. And then coincidentally, my cousin, at a very young age, died. And then a few days later, my sister, I think it was a week later, I can't really remember, but she died. She committed suicide with fire. And so it was like all this trauma was like laid on me. So the doctors said, well, you're just stressed out, and that's where your pain source is coming from. You're just stressed out, which is true. That was partly true. I was going through some PTSD, but I saw Dr. Rosenberg. He's an awesome psychologist. Awesome. He saved my life. And he gave me all these psychological tests. He said, no, you have real pain issues. Of course, we can work on what we can do mentally, but you need to improve your quality of life, and you take the medication the way it's prescribed by your pain physician, and then you're followed up with me, and I'm followed up with a psychiatrist, because that's what they do when you're on scheduled 1 and 2 meds, which I don't have a problem with at all. I'd rather be followed up by, and I was lucky enough to have insurance to pay for it. I was blessed. So for years I took that, and then I became immune to pain, and I did get more. I developed strategies how to cope with pain differently, but I still needed it. But I personally, with the help of my physicians, went down gradually off of it. And I was on a very low dose. But what happened 2 weeks ago was unconscionable.
Yep.
What happened is that for years, I had no problem getting my medication because I never abused it. And it was always accessible, and like I would go to the pharmacy and it would always be there like clockwork. Well, then 1 week out of the blue, it wasn't there. And I called the doctor's office, and they were hemming and hawing, and I couldn't get a straight answer, which was really strange because I had a good relationship with all my doctors. Turns out, we probably had 20 phone calls going back and forth. Michael was in tears. I was pulling my hair out. What the heck is going on? How come I can't get my medication? Nobody was being honest with me. It turns out I was going through withdrawals unnecessarily because I was not tapered off my medication correctly. here's the thought line in that. I can't really totally blame the doctor's offices because the DEA cracked down so hard on them that the transition was so piss poor that it left us chronic, pain people with real severe chronic pain, quality of life people with cancer and conditions that we couldn't get our medications because the DEA just said, nope, can't hand them out. And basically, so to back up, I went through heavy withdrawals. It was horrible. I went to the emergency room, and they were very, very kind to me. They didn't, because I've been to the emergency rooms in the past, like if I was traveling, where they just treat you like dirt. They treat you like scum of the earth. Because you take prescription pain medication, and you take it correctly, but you're still a scum bucket because you're a doper. But, let's not talk about the people that are selling fentanyl on the street.
Right.
Making a killing. That's another story. But they're taking it out on the wrong people, clearly. The DEA did not handle it correctly. There was no smooth transition. And consequently, a lot of people went through the hell I went through unnecessarily. And personally, I think it was a lack of standard of care. It was a total lack of standard of care. But yet, I'm not going after my doctor because I'm cognitive enough to know that it's not the doctor's fault.
Right.
The doctor did everything. His hands are tied. In fact, when I went in to discuss my situation with him, he said that, he had to take 2 people off of hospice care. Now they're starting to take people with cancer, stage 4 cancer, off Schedule 1 medication, dying. Yeah, that's what he told me. And then I started reading a lot of studies, and Charlotte, I was going to spill a bunch of statistics over on the show, and I thought that's not what the show's about. This show's coming from the heart.
Right.
No pun intended, the gut. This show's coming from what we've gone through, what we've seen friends going through, what I've seen people go through in the medical community, and it's just not right. Now, I'm 100% for accountability taking medications. 100% for accountability. And as a licensed nurse, I always followed the guidelines that I was to follow. And as a patient, I always followed the guidelines and my prescription, and took it exactly as I was supposed to take it, with many follow-ups with the doctor and the psychiatrist, psychologist, to make sure that I was taking it right. So anyways, that was just a nightmare of experience 2 weeks ago, and you warned me, and you told me, and I'm like, well, that won't happen to me because I have great doctors that understand what I'm going through. But no, you were right. You were right.
I have seen, as part of...
Oh my God, it was horrid. And then, I'll quickly finish. After I went in, my doctor said, you're at the tail end of your withdrawals. And if I put you back on the opiate, you're just going to boomerang, and it's not going to help your type of stomach or gut pain anymore. And this doctor I really trust. I really, really trust him. So I thought, I've been wanting to get off of him for a long time. So I thought, well, you know what? I'll just take this opportunity and just get off of them and see what happens. And it's been rough. It's been hard. And just because I'm making it off my opiates, and I probably won't go back on them, does not mean that I don't have strong feelings for anybody else that are going through issues with getting their prescriptions filled in a timely manner, so they don't have to go through with unnecessary withdrawals the way I did. Basically the DEA is what's the word? They're taking it out on the wrong people.
Yes.
They're taking it out on the doctors. I'm good friends with a surgeon and other nurses, and they're telling me that their hands are tied. Even if people come in with broken bones, they cannot give them Schedule 1 medication.
Yep.
Okay, now the second piece to this, I'm sorry I'm jumping around.
It's fine.
So
Go ahead.
Just, you know me, Charlotte.
No problem. Go
Bring
ahead.
me in if I go off on a tangent, because I know I do that. So anyways, the other part about this is that I saw my sister go through mental illness. She was bipolar, and it went into schizoaffective disease. And she was taking medications, or she did not take them because she had a stigma.
Right.
This was 12 years ago. She had lived in San Francisco and had a high career job and had an image and didn't, but she was ashamed of she was ashamed of her illness, and that's what killed her. So the fact that now that these psychiatrists that go to school for 10, 20 years to treat patients with these awful mental disorders, anxiety and depression are not considered mental illness unless they progress into bipolar, that sort of thing. But she truly had mental illness, and because of it, she didn't take her medications, and it killed her. Her brain lied to her, and it killed her. Well, now these psychiatric clinicians, their hands are tied. They're actually having a hard time prescribing Schedule 2 drugs, which is to take care of bipolar, severe depression, that kind of thing. And I just find that unconscionable, because now not only do we have patients that are having a hard time dealing with their mental illness, but they can't even get their medications because the DEA has cracked down so hard and is putting on other layers of more stigma. More, you know what I'm saying? They're putting on more and more layers for the patient to feel like they're being victimized, and there's more stigma put on them than society already puts on them to begin with. I've read
online on those chronic pain forums, like the one I mentioned at the beginning of the show, that in some cases the doctors are giving the patient a choice where you either get your medicine for your anxiety, right, for your mental health, or you get your pain medicine. You can't have both. You have to choose one or the other.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's exactly true. And in some cases, that's really the way I look at it. When you're dealing with a true specialist, and I'm not knocking down GPs. There's very good GPs out there, but I'm talking about when you're dealing with a specialist, a surgeon, somebody who is experienced, clinically trained, and the government is interfering with their knowledge of the patient that they've been treating for years, and now that their hands are tied because they could go to jail. That's just not right.
And what I don't understand,
something's gotta change.
And what I don't understand, the CDC, with all these rules that they're coming out with, is that they have a board of doctors. I don't know who the heck these doctors are, but they have a board of doctors that comes up with this stuff. And I don't know if maybe they've never treated pain before or what, but
that's part of it. Now, it depends on which specialist you're talking about, because basically when you're dealing with specialists that deal with psychological, like psychiatrists,
right,
they are very clinically trained to know how drugs interact with each other. And you can't go to a general practitioner and get treated for that kind of ailment because they don't have that education. So
right.
A lot of doctors, they don't understand what chronic pain can do to a person. And I'm not saying that I've done the 7 years of physical therapy. I do the TIMS unit. I've done the meditation. I'm doing a program right now where you meditate, where you can
Mm-hmm.
To go around those pain centers that you develop over years, and the amygdala part of the brain, the fight or flight center of your brain.
Right.
So I'm putting in the hard work. I've been putting in the hard work for a long time, and yet, I would still go in at times to a doctor that doesn't know me, and I would get treated like, like scum of the earth, like I'm out there selling crack or fentanyl.
Right.
When nothing could be further from the truth. So yeah, as you can see, I'm a little bit passionate about talking about this.
Well, I am
the
too.
The other thing that really bothers me, Charlotte.
Go ahead.
No, I'll be quiet, I promise. What really bothers me is that these elderly people, and people who are young. I'm not just saying just the elderly, but it breaks my heart, like when they don't have family members that can advocate for them, and they're by themselves, and they're left in the bed dealing with pain because their doctor has to meet some mandate by the DEA.
Right.
That was frivolously, implemented.
I think the politicians and all this, because they don't know anything about pain either. They're going by whatever their so-called experts are telling them. I think what it was is that because of what's been coming over the border and all this, I think the politicians wanted to do something quickly to put a good show of it on that, hey, we're dealing with this. But the problem was when they did it, instead of separating people by categories, they turned around and put everybody under the same umbrella as the addicts. Right. And for everybody that's listening and will be listening tonight, there are two types of pain patients. Well, two types of pain people, we'll say. Okay, there's the addicts and there's the people that are dependent. The dependent people are the ones like Caren and I, who need this for, as one doctor told me a few years ago, quality of life. We can't get through our life without that pill because the pain is so intense. Like with me vacuuming the lawn. My God, I'm losing it. With me vacuuming my carpet or doing my floors and working out my yard, even mowing the lawn, that angle kills me. I remember life before I'm going to call real pain pills, because I was on ibuprofen. And I remember how long it took me just to do my kitchen. It would take 3-4 hours because I'd have to stand up that angle and I'd have to sit down right away. And it was terrible. I was up and down trying to do the work. Once I got my, once I started on the tramadol, which helped for a while, and then moved up into the Norco, I can do everything like a normal person.
Your quality of life is so much better.
Yeah.
Now, me, personally, I do agree with my doctor. I am off opiates, but not because of the stigma, and not because, but I do believe that in my situation, that is the route for me to go.
Right.
But like I said, that does not mean that I'm going to become an advocate for these people, because it's horrid. It's horrid. I hate to see what you're going through. Now, and then the experts will say, or people say, well, there's other things you can do, like gabapentin. Are you kidding me? I can't take gabapentin. I hallucinated on gabapentin. Gabapentin is a very horrible, strong drug.
Gabapentin
in everybody's face
has some weird side effects.
It does work for certain people with neuropathy,
right,
and peripheral neuropathy and things,
and
things like that, neurological conditions. But for me, it didn't do anything for my basically my intestines are gutted out. And on top of that, I have a rare congenital disease that I can't break down any sugar at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to do the sucrate with each meal. So, and that in itself causes a lot of pain too. So I've got a lot of double whammies.
The frightening part of gabapentin is that it's not a cure-all like they want it to be a cure-all. And Karen's right. It's mainly used for your nerves. So like a pinched nerve to take it, or if it's neuropathy in your feet to take it, that kind of thing. The problem with gabapentin is there's side effects. Like with every drug, there's side effects. I have a very sharp mind. I've always had a sharp mind. I started taking the lowest dose of gabapentin when I was taking care of my mother because I had to be up, because I knew gabapentin would knock me out. My friend Monica used to take the 400 or 500 milligram gabapentin, and she'd come over here and just sleep all day on my couch. Yeah. And so when they offered me gabapentin, I said, I'm not going to be doing that. That's for sure. So the doctor was kind of irritated with me because I wouldn't take a large dose of it, like 3 times a day.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's a very, very strong and can be a very dangerous drug in itself. But why don't they treat that as cautiously as they do other medications?
Right. What happened with me with the gabapentin was that I didn't know this is a side effect. In fact, the side effects just started coming out the last year and a half with it. Is that it does something to your brain, and I was having trouble thinking, literally thinking, to the point that I was so forgetful. It was ridiculous, and it was the gabapentin doing it. And then after I started complaining about it, then all of a sudden all this stuff starts cropping up online and everything, especially that Facebook pain form of it, the chronic pain form over there about what's been happening to people's minds. It's like Swiss cheese on gabapentin. Gabapentin has issues, and I've seen this also. I'm very cooperative. I did like Caren. I did the physical therapy. Been there, done that.
I know, Charlotte.
And I've been on the same dose of hydrocodone for 11 years. I haven't asked for more. I'm very careful.
No, you've never abused it.
No.
Ever, and I've known you for 20-some years.
And when they call me in, and this is the other insulting thing that I find insulting after going through all this, and I have to take a urine test every month to prove that I'm not taking anything else. Okay, I can deal with that. I haven't got in.
That I didn't have any problems with personally. It's like, okay, big deal.
Yeah, but I haven't got called in yet for a pill count. But that is something they do. That's on their list of stuff to do. Is that it's gotten to the point where they don't trust people in chronic pain anymore, and you can get called in anytime for a pill count.
That's right, but what's really bothering me is the fact that now you're on these government agency lists.
Right.
Like,
oh yeah,
a friggin', excuse me, criminal. We're not criminals.
Yeah.
We're not criminals. The majority of people with chronic pain are not criminals.
No.
And then I heard one argument was, well, there was this 80-year-old lady with chronic pain, but she was out there selling her fentanyl out in the street. Well, come on. Are you going to use that one case to justify all the means?
Right.
That's ludicrous.
And then to go in, and I'm not going to say anything about my doctor because I don't want somebody listening to this and then I'm cut off. I gotta walk a fine line here. But I'm just going to put it this way. I go in to see the doctor, and it's like he's trying to sell me a used car when I go in. Oh, we got this other medication. We got this other medication that's so wonderful for your pain. It's going to take all your pain away. I've had patients say they don't need their opioids anymore. I said, well, what's in it? Well, it's just this, but there's no opioid in there. And I thought, no, wait a minute. Whoa. My opioid is doing just fine. How can you tell me that something that doesn't have that in there is going to take my pain away? Just like the other argument, I know there's studies out there about how pain pills cause more pain. The reality of it all is, and God bless the studies.
Oh, the boomerang effect?
Yeah, like I said, I am not a doctor. Karen's not a doctor.
There is some truth to that, but it depends. But see, they're categorizing all pain patients in the same league, and they can't do that because in my case, that's true.
Yeah.
There is a boomerang effect, and that's why I'm choosing not to go back on opiates because I don't want that boomerang effect, and I'm kind of like in the middle. I'm not really sure how it's working, but I don't want to go back on them, and that's where I'm at right now. But the boomerang effect it depends on. There's many types of pain. It depends on what part of your body is affected. Like you've got spinal. Right.
Yeah.
When you have pain, it all goes through the spinal cord up to the brain.
Right.
That's
and the issue is.
Sense. But if you have enteric pain like I do, or where the source of the pain is peripheral pain, neuropathy pain, you do treat it a little differently.
Right.
Pain should be, and the DEA, the guidelines are not allowing that to happen.
Right. Exactly.
They're categorizing everybody. They're lumping everybody in as if they're out friggin' selling fentanyl on the street.
Right.
That's how it feels.
And getting back to that study real quick, I believe in studies. I have no problem with studies. I was a health beat reporter for 4 years, so I know about this stuff. But anybody that's taken long-term medication, I don't care if it's amoxicillin or penicillin, at some point your body gets used to that medication, and the medication will no longer do what it's supposed to do. With pain medication, it's this, yeah. Okay, with pain medication, when the doctors will tell you, okay, it causes more pain for you. A lot of that also, on the flip side of what Caren has said, a lot of that also is people like me that have been long-term on a particular pain medication, suddenly it's not working as well because you built up that tolerance. And that's when that's when people ask for increases in their payments.
But Charlotte, I know you. You've done all the different modalities.
Yeah.
You've done all the different, you've done the physical therapy. You've done the electrical,
stimulation and all that. Yeah.
All the different diagnostic things that you've done. And it didn't work for you.
No.
And I've seen you without your medication. Your life, your quality of life is not good.
No.
It's not. And I personally, I'm not a doctor, but as a good friend, I would say you need your medication.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of people out there like me. It's not just me that this is happening to. There's a lot of people out there just like me who are in the same boat, and they're not getting their meds. And I feel bad for them. Every time I go, I'm wondering if that's going to be the end. If we're going to walk in, they're going to go, well, sorry, we can't give you your meds anymore.
I know, and I'm even scared to ask about like a lower scheduled medication that's not an opiate.
Right.
That it's to the point where the doctors are even getting nervous about prescribing those kind of scheduled medications.
Yep. It's
the
sad.
2s and the 3s.
It's sad, and nobody's listening. The politicians aren't listening. I mean, you could write Congress all you want, and all they see is a bunch of addicts.
Oh, that's another show.
That's all they see is a bunch of addicts. And it's sad. And like I said, Caren and I,
very sad.
Caren and I are not doctors. We're not trying to spread misinformation. That's what we're not here to do. Okay, we're just telling you about our situations. And believe me, I'm not the only one. Karen's not the only one that's been through this. There's thousands and thousands of people across the United States that are going through this.
That I read a study. I don't know how. What's the word? Real it is, valid it is, but suicide rate's gone up.
Yes.
A lot with the chronic pain patients.
Yep.
Quite a bit. And I can't give you the exact figure.
Right. But it has gone up. The other thing is, I'm hearing a lot of reports, and I know your sister's online watching this too. I see Kathy's in the chat room.
Oh, hi, Kathy.
But like I said, I'm not knocking the doctors or nurses; their hands are tied. But I'm hearing reports from people who go in for major surgeries and they're being sent home with Tylenol.
Yeah.
To deal with that.
I think I heard some of the RNs telling me that when if you go in, like if you have a broken arm, they won't give you an opiate. Broken arm is really painful. They only give it if you have major surgery, and then they cut you off at a certain point and say, "Sorry, Charlie, go home and deal with it."
Right.
And look at all these people that don't have medical insurance or don't have the means to justify the ends as far as getting good follow-up care, or that they don't have good advocates, or they don't have any family that can help them out. What do these people do?
Well, yeah, and there's horror stories that I've seen.
Because it used to be the doctors would be their advocate for them.
Yes.
But now the doctors' hands are tied, the clinicians' hands are tied.
Yes.
So everybody's just left in the desert.
Right. And like the pain forum that Claudia Morandi, she's a very, like I said, a very, I don't know if the regular person wouldn't know who she is, but the people.
Yeah, she's really good.
And she's good, and she's out of Rhode Island, and she's had a lot of success in courts, for the pain doctors that have been arrested and trying to get the legislation through. She's an advocate, and it's just insane. And on her page, if you go through there, it's called the No Pain Forum, I think, on Facebook, the Claudia Morandi. You can see the reports that are coming out of people like me who get up, drag yourself out. And my pain clinic's in Folsom. I mean, I got to go like what is it, 25, 30 miles just to get pain pills.
Right. Yeah, we used to have to drive to the Bay Area.
Yeah, or someplace like that, yeah. And so
and that's long ways.
The biggest fear you have is you go to your pain clinic and it's been shut down by the DEA. Because there's a lot of stories out there where people will go to their usual appointment, they're obeying the rules, they're doing what they're supposed to do, and there's a note on the door that says, sorry, you can't access this anymore. and there's no prescription for you to move on to somebody else or whatever, and that makes it bad too. I mean, how would you like to go try and get your med pen if Karen was doing it over, trying to get it over the phone and stuff when she was trying to get
Oh,
hers?
it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And because the system did not transition as well as they should have put the time and energy into like implementing a transitional period
Yes.
with the doctors and
Right.
clinicians and
Right.
patients.
Right.
They should have had 15s, whatever. They didn't. So what happened is that a lot of people went through withdrawals
Yes.
the way I did.
Yes.
Unfairly.
Yeah.
Unfairly.
I mean, how would you like it if you had, say you had something going on with your kidneys, and you knew you needed to see a doctor for medication, and then you go to that doctor's office.
My psychiatrist said that she is so surprised that I didn't have a major seizure.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I did have a seizure in the emergency room.
Yeah.
It wasn't major, but I did have a seizure.
Oh, yeah. And there's people.
She was livid.
Oh, yeah.
About what happened.
Absolutely. And there's people like me. I have congestive heart failure. If they put me through withdrawals, I could have a heart attack.
Yeah, easily.
You know, I mean, that's what's bad. And it's not that they don't care. Like Karen says, their hands are tied. So it's like I said, imagine you have something wrong with your kidneys. And you have.
When I was in the emergency room.
Yeah.
You know, they couldn't give me anything.
Nope.
Nothing.
They won't. Nope. Nothing.
I'm going through withdrawals, and you know, there's other things that they can do to give you, like, to help you with your withdrawals.
Right.
But, and I'm not going to name I'm not going to get into the name of the drug, because then you get into arguments which one works better.
Right.
But they give you something sublingual, or you know, they can help you.
Right.
But it's not a cure. It doesn't help you enough where it gets you from the risk of having a major seizure.
Exactly.
And like the emergency doctor said, I said, yeah, I'm embarrassed. I don't really understand what's happening to me. And I used, you know, I went to school. I'm a licensed nurse. Even though I'm disabled and I'm not practicing,
right.
I still keep up what's going on here. She said, it only takes, you only have to be on one dose of an opiate. And if they cut you off, it doesn't really matter the intensity. If they cut you off sharply, you can have just as bad a reaction.
Yes.
To a low dose.
Yes.
Of an opiate as a high dose.
Absolutely.
Opiate.
Absolutely.
And that shocked me. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It scared me.
Right. You know, but it's sad. It's sad that, like I said, the people that are going to their pain management appointments, some of them, I know people from that help paying for them, that are driving in other states to get their pain pills, and they go and it's all shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And they're lost. There's hundreds of people at a clinic, right? And they're lost because they can't get anything. When Karen talks about the DEA watching you, this is something that scared the hell out of me too. Was I used to get my prescriptions at Costco before my medical plan switched over, and I had to sign a form that went to the DEA saying I was taking this particular medication. Okay, and they're forever watching. And I remember when I had to, when I didn't have coverage anymore that would allow Costco, I had to switch pharmacies. And I remember going up to the pharmacist and saying, well, am I going to have to fill something out? Because you always fill stuff out at the pharmacy, right? And he looked at me and he went, oh, no, I have you on record already. And this was a completely different chain, store chain than Costco. So the DEA is watching. My doctor every month gets a record of when I pick up my pills. And he hit me with that. He says, here's for the last year of you going in to the pain, to pick up your pain pills.
Yeah.
So they're watching us, and and like I said, I get that there's addicts out there. I get that there's people that are selling it illegally. I get all that, but they're targeting the wrong people.
Exactly. Okay, there was a huge opioid crisis that needed to be addressed.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. We have to do something. We have to do something about it.
Right.
But how they implemented it, and how they went about it was totally wrong.
Right. Exactly. And just like with what I'm taking, it's getting harder to get my medication now because they've decided to cut back on the production of that medication.
And then it's like, okay, what about all these pharmaceutical companies
that
make billions and billions of dollars formulating all these opiates. Can't if with all that brain power, can't they come up with something that's non-opiate that's just as strong on
Right.
a pain center?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, there's a lot of herbs out there,
Well,
that
that's
people
just
have
it.
used
I
for
mean,
years, and they can
I've
put
been
that.
looking into medicinal, reading a lot of medicinal books
Right.
and learning about different herbs and things like that. But that too, you have to be careful with. And you can't just go to any shaman that puts a shaman label on the door. You
Right.
can't just trust anybody. You got to go somebody that's had years and years and years of experience with this. And those people are hard to find too.
I titled this show "On the Wrong Side of History." The reason why it's titled like that is, again, we're going to keep saying this. We're not doctors, okay? We don't want to get in trouble or anything for what we're saying. We're not doctors.
Right.
But
We're only talking from our experience.
yeah, but the wrong side of history means that I get what the feds are trying to do. I understand. Like Caren says, I understand there's illegal stuff going on. But being on the wrong side of history is that it's a historic thing that they're cracking down, and they're not getting these drugs moved through. But the problem is they're on the wrong side of history because it's hurting a lot of people. It's causing a lot of pain. It's causing deaths. It's causing stuff. And this is stuff that doesn't come out.
It's causing more mental disorders.
Yes.
Becoming worse.
Yes.
Like I said, going through what I did with my sister really heightened my sensitivity for stigma related to mental illness.
Right.
And when I hear and when I see what's going on in that community where people can't even get those kind of medications to treat their mental illness properly because the DEA is cracking down on those medications hard.
Right.
Even though they're prescribed by people that have high specialty degrees with a lot of experience, it doesn't matter. It's like you're just thrown in the same categories. You went to a GP that doesn't know anything about psychosis.
Right. So I mean, it's a double-edged sword for everybody. Like I said, I get what the Congress and all that wants to do, with this and to crack it down, but I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. I mean, are they not listening to the advocates?
That's the part that I need to study and research more is the political part of all of it. But personally, I am so sick and tired of political crap on TV right now. That's one of the reasons why I just kind of left it alone. Eventually, I'll do it, but work like your friend. I commend your the woman.
Yeah, Claudia. Yeah.
Claudia, she's fantastic.
For going after this
She's put a lot of good research and work into what she's doing. God bless her for what she's doing too. And I just can't go there right now. Dealing with my pain right now and adapting to it every day. I just feel like getting involved with what the government is just putting more negativity into my brain right now.
Right. And
especially
you know what?
With our climate right now.
The sad thing about this is like with my pain levels, I'm not totally a 10. I'm never not in pain, but I'm okay with that. It keeps me.
5 is good for me.
Yeah, it keeps me functioning.
Being on the pain
medication. I can have a somewhat normal life at the level I'm at. I'm happy. I don't want to get an increase in pills. I don't want anything. I'm good. But for the people that really, really need it, that's what's sad.
You just want to function.
You just want to function.
Have better quality of life.
It's not a question of skipping down the yellow brick road or anything. Once you take these things, it's a way to function and keep you functioning in life, so you can be productive.
Yeah. I just hope I'm doing the right thing because I'm still down 3-4 hours a day with an ice cube on my abdomen and doing 10 machines and doing all these different things, massages and doing my deep meditation. And I just hope I'm going the right direction. But
no one.
It's hard to say.
No one should have to live with pain.
No.
This is why these drugs were created. They weren't created to get people high. You guys know what I mean out there in Radio Land.
Over-the-counter medication. Yeah. It does take the edge off for me.
Right.
It doesn't take my pain totally down, but it does take the edge off for me.
But that's the thing is that, like I said, there's so many people like Caren who have had the pain medication essentially taken away from them. and they're in tremendous pain. They can't function.
Especially like okay, because my pain source comes from different sources. One was from my bad surgery, and the other one comes from my CSID, the lack of enzyme to break anything down. So when I don't take enough of that enzyme, I just go in horrible spasms.
Sure. I have multiple stuff going on. I mean,
I know you do
I've
too.
got the pain from my spine. I've got nerve pain.
Yeah.
And there's not one pill that'll treat all. So I mean, I either get the pain treated, which I do, and then I put up with the nerve stuff. I mean,
they can't prescribe them both together anymore.
Yeah. So I mean, that's it. But at least I'm able to live my life, and I hope I'm able to still access them. Like I say, every month I go in to my pain management doctor, and I wonder if I'm going to be prescribed or not. You know, it's frightening, and it shouldn't be that way. It just should not be that way.
And you're a good advocate for yourself, Charlotte.
Yeah.
You're articulate. You're a really good advocate for yourself, but a lot of people aren't as good.
Right.
Like you've been a journalist for many years, and you kind of know what to say. And the thing is that you're doing everything 100% on board. You're not taking advantage.
Yep.
Or giving them the slip. You know.
But Caren was a perfect example of what happens. They cut people off. They don't let them know they cut them off, and they go through withdrawals. And I was so angry over that, just so angry.
Oh my God.
And but you know, it's not isolated, guys. I'm just trying to tell you. I'm not trying to whine about this. It's not an isolated problem to this area or whatever. It's all over the U.S. It's all over.
Oh yeah, it's nationwide.
Yes, nationwide. What's been going on with people? So I mean, we just wanted to come on here and talk about it, to tell our stories, because there's so many stories like us, and there's worse stories. There's worse stuff.
Oh yes.
You know, if you go on Facebook, Google Claudia Morandi. She does a podcast every week. I think it's every week, and she talks.
Every week.
Yeah, and she talks to different doctors. You know, she talks to politicians, and she talks to people that are currently going through this mess. Because word has to be out, no matter what. Because people don't. And the other thing, people, even the public, with the way the press has played this, has been wrong too. Because the public believes that we are all addicts, that there's no difference between.
That's how they portray us.
That's how they portray us, and we're not. We're not all addicts. All right.
There's a big difference, like you said. There's a big difference between being dependent and being addicted.
Right. And when I have a pain management guy tell me, and that was about 3 years ago, before I had to switch to the current people I'm with, to have him sit down and say, "Oh, the stuff you're taking isn't any worse than anybody else, but you need it for quality of life." And I said, "Yeah, I do." That's what it boils down to. And it's just
sad. That's how it used to be, but now that quality of life is getting out of the picture, and that's what's wrong.
Yeah, that's what's wrong. And they keep coming out with new guidelines. I don't know if they think they're fixing it, but every time they come up with new guidelines, it gets worse.
The pendulum has swung way too far the other way.
Yeah.
It needs to come back central.
And that's why this needs to come out more. I've heard it. I'm not going to say what radio show, but it surprised me a few months ago, because a certain conservative radio show is realizing what's going on with this industry, and they've had a couple shows on doing the same kind of thing we're doing right now, talking about this crisis. In the way that we're talking about it, not that, oh yeah, they're all drug users out there and blah blah blah. They're starting to realize that something's gone wrong with the way they're governing the pain clinics and stuff.
Yes. And you know what? It's hardest on the patient, but it's really hard on the doctor.
Yeah.
And it erodes the system. It breaks down the trust between doctor and patients.
Yep.
I gave my trust back to my doctor, but for that week I went through this, I was mad.
Yeah.
But then I stepped back and I thought about it cognitively. It's not the doctor's fault, really.
No, their hands are tied. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate.
I couldn't really blame my doctor. But it was funny because when I went in, he just like went from night and day. And so, Caren, I think we should try a different modality. Try this. I said, "Doctor, why didn't you call me back or tell me this a few weeks ago?" I said, "Cut the crap. I know what's going on. And then he laughed, and then he cut the crap, and he was straightforward with me what's really going on.
I think they feel bad. And I think they truthfully feel bad. Not all the doctors, but I think, there's a nice bunch of doctors that get what's going on with their patients, and then they feel bad about it.
They can't all talk to their patients away because mine. But yeah, they have to stay really professional, and that's got to be really hard for them to be in that role.
Right. Exactly. They're just going by what the CDC wants and what the feds want. I mean, that's what they do. That's what the CDC's there. The CDC's there to guide. That's what the CDC does. But unfortunately, it's just frightening for him. And I know Claudia just was. I don't know if she was involved in the case, but there was like a 70-year-old doctor that was arrested and convicted over this.
Are you kidding me?
For what they claim was overprescribing and whatnot. And I think he finally got out. I think there was enough people went up to his aid.
Do you know what the charge was?
I don't remember, but it had to do with his distribution of payments. He's like an old-timey doctor.
Uh-huh.
And so he got taken in over that. And then they shut his clinic down. Everything got, it was a big mess.
Oh, yeah. I was told that my pharmacy, I have information that a couple pharmacies around us, good ones, were shut down.
Yep.
They just came in and shut them down and left all these people high and dry without their medication.
Yep.
They don't care.
Yep, they don't care. They're doing it to clinics too. And if you guys don't believe, what,
until the patients suffer.
Yeah. Yep. And if you guys don't believe what Caren and I are saying, go to that Don't Punish Pain forum on Facebook. Go see what's going on with people. There's report after report after report
I don't
after report.
understand why they don't talk about this on the news. They talk about a lot of things that these narcissistic politicians want to talk about themselves all day long, but God forbid if they want to talk about how to help us.
Yeah.
In this realm, you don't hear about this being talked about on the news very much.
And it needs to be brought out more. Like I said, I'm real impressed because that particular radio, show has been talking about this, and I was surprised because when I saw that they were going to have guests talking about this, I thought, oh God, here we go again. But I was really impressed, and I think more radio shows need to take this on. It has to get out there. The public has to come forward. People have to come forth and talk about this more and get it out into the media of what's going on.
And even children going in who have, broken body parts, bones.
Yes.
That's very traumatic and painful for a child. They're not even allowed to give a child any pain medication.
Right.
Even the paramedics. I was reading an article about the paramedics. With the doctor's orders or standard of care, they can't even give it out like the way they used to.
No, they can't. So it's sad. It's really sad. And Karen's going through it right now with, like she says, with ice packs and trying to figure out ways to dull the pain that she's in. She's in pain every night. And I know it because I talk to her every night. I mean, since this has happened. Yeah, Karen's in pain every night.
I can't hide anything from you.
No, and it shouldn't have to be that way. But she has to live in pain every night because she's not on pain meds anymore.
Yeah.
But there's so many out there. There's so many people out there like Caren and I that it's just awful. And I thank God for people like Claudia or Randy who are out fighting for us because we need somebody out fighting for us, and we need to do.
And what we really need is some kind of lobbying.
Yes.
I know I'm a pipe dreamer, but there's got to be something with all the knowledge and medical research. Why can't they come up with a medication that's non-opiate based?
Yep.
That can be just as strong to target neuropathy pain that's not gabapentin, or it's like it all comes down to money.
Yes.
A lot of this is money driven, and again, we're the ones that suffer because of it.
Right. Exactly.
It's all political. A lot of it is political.
I've been wanting to do a show like this for a while. It's been something that's been on my mind for the last couple of years. I'm glad we got to do it because
I am too, Charlotte. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to
absolutely
share my story. I appreciate it.
People need to be aware of what's going on because they don't. I mean, you could talk to someone on the street, and it just depends who you talk to, but the attitude against paying patients is horrible because people have been fed with all kind of, with whatever the misinformation that's being doled out. And I've run into this talking just to, because you have conversations with people about stuff when you're at the pharmacy.
There has
even.
to be a smoother transition.
Yeah, there's
with
nothing
the
there,
DEA,
and
with
there's
the
no
government agencies having that communication with the clinicians.
Yeah.
And the healthcare systems.
Yep.
I know that's a big joke.
Yeah.
But
and like I said, even the general
I can
public,
dream, right?
Yeah, even the general public is against this because they think we're all addicts. I mean, that's the attitude. They don't understand why we have to take.
Oh yeah, and we're the lucky ones that have good insurance.
Yeah.
What about the ones that are immigrants or the ones that are hard-working Americans that don't have good health insurance? They, on top of not being able to get what they need to resolve their their quantified pain issues, they're getting treated even worse than we are.
Yes, absolutely. So this has to come out, and that's why Caren and I.
The finger keeps getting pointed down farther down the line.
Yes, exactly.
It's become a social problem.
Right, exactly.
And the rich, the super, super, super rich can still get it.
Right, exactly. So anyway, I wanted to do this show, and I wanted to bring it out because after what happened to Caren, I've been wanting to get, like I said, I've been wanting to do this for a long time because it has to be done. And again, I don't blame Caren. I don't blame the doctors. I don't blame the nurses. I don't either. I blame the federal government for all this. And
there's people in our government that are, I have to give a shout out. There are people in our government that are really trying hard.
Yes.
It's not all government, it's not all bad. There's people that are really, really trying hard for us. There's just not enough.
Mm-hmm. It's just not enough. But this is what's going on with people, guys. I wanted you guys to know this, and yeah. All right. Well,
okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Right,
we're good.
I'll talk to you later.
We did it. Okay, talk to you later. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Thank you. Bye. Anyway, again, I'm not a doctor. Karen's not a doctor, but I mean, this is what's really going on in the real world. And if people don't like it, I don't know what else to say. But this is going on. It's going on at the hospitals. I remember I was at Kaiser for an issue just recently, and I remember there was a guy, and they have seekers, people that actually go into the emergency rooms, and they're looking for pain pills from the ERs and stuff. I understand that too, but I remember overhearing a ER doctor, ER nurse say, "I'm sorry, we don't give those out anymore. We don't do that." And who knows if this guy was going through withdrawals or if he was like me and really needs the stuff and maybe it hit on the wrong weekend or something. But it's so convoluted now with what has happened, and something needs to be done. I don't know. I don't have the power. The only power I have is to be here on doing this show and get this out to 3, 4, 5,000 people to listen to and maybe raise awareness that way. When I got into this gig, or when I started out as a journalist, because I had other plans in my life. When I started out as a journalist, I thought, wow, this is a way for me to do some good in the world, to cover some stories, to do some good in the world. And if I do that, then I've accomplished a lot. And I did do a lot of that during my tenure when I was actually out in the field working. If I could do some good with this radio show, with something like this, or even the paranormal stuff to help somebody, I've done my job. And that makes me feel good to do that. So that's all we're here for, is to inform you, the audience, about what's going on. And I think we did pretty good tonight. Leave me some comments about the discussion. Let me know how you think we did. There's comments on YouTube. There's comments on Facebook. If this is running on Facebook, I want to know what you guys think of this. Let's put this together and figure out stuff. And like I always say, if you like the show, you share it with 5 people. Spread the news to your friends. If you hated the show, share it with 5 of your enemies. Because that's all it is getting the word out about the show, especially this topic. That's what we want to do. Is we want to spread the word that things aren't all as they seem. With this crisis, because it isn't all what people think it is. It's not as cut and dry as the government wants you to believe. It's not. It's hurting people. It's hurting a lot of people that need it. Okay. All right. That being said, tomorrow is Friday. It's Nancy Matt's Friday, and we're going to be talking about some really cool stuff. And I can't remember what we're talking about. I forgot to write it down. I apologize. But we're going to be talking, we're going to have a nice long talk. So just check out the teaser for it. I've been off for 3 days. It's been kind of nice. I'm glad to be back, and it feels good. I had to get a breather, so that was nice. but I'm glad to be back and be talking with you guys. I am teaching a class on protection, and that'll be Saturday, May 6th at 7 p.m. Pacific. And if you guys are interested in that, I'm going to be going over how to protect your home, yourselves, your pets. That's a big fear of mine when I go out ghost hunting. If something's either going to follow me home or get home ahead of me and do something to my dogs or my cats and whatnot and hurt my animals. So so it's a way to learn how to do that. But I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to really go in depth on protection and what people can look for and for protection wise and stuff. I'm really going to dig into that. So if you want to sign up for that, head over to the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team meetup. It's free to sign up, and then you just have to, just locate the class and go from there with it. We also have a Patreon page that I'm trying to build membership up on. Any pre-recorded interview that we do, I will put that up 2 weeks ahead of time so you guys can get an early bird view of it. And then we're going to start having guests come in there starting in May to do extra shows to where you guys can go on and maybe you didn't get a chance to ask them a question or a question you wanted didn't get answered or whatever. You can go on there on a one-on-one and talk to them for like an hour, and get to know them better and get your questions answered. So check out the California Haunts Patreon page as well. Okay. So follow me on Facebook. Follow California Haunts on Facebook. Follow me over to Instagram. I'm Ghosty Gal, all lowercase. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Trying to build those numbers up. Up. Everything's going up. And okay, I will see you guys tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Okay? You guys have a great evening, and away we go.